hard. The only shot we did that was inside that had no out. This one right here. I mean, this was my one locker room. That was my big shot that I didn't have to. I could shoot that at nighttime. Okay, but everything else had to be shot during the day, because that's the difference with Hawaii and every place else. Is it's sunny year round. Somebody should put subnote except in August. Okay, because it rains the entire month. So, with that in mind, here's the setup. Here's the way we're going to work. First of all, our primary exposure is the outside, one stop below basic daylight. Then we take a small bogan stand, cut off the legs so we can get it in a tighter area. So it just has a bogan 13-foot stand, and you duct tape the actual stand to the steel grades, which is the balcony area, and then fire it through. Now when you fire it through, the warming aspect, the slight warming of the light, is a bastard amber number 26 Roscoe gel. It's a number 26. And what we do is we take it, that's a very warm conversion gel. And if you put that over the whole strobe, it's this very kind of a blood red, actually blood amber. But what you do is to change the time of day is you work with different widths. For a noon to 1 o'clock look, we have a 1-inch strip that goes across a 9-inch parabolic on my broncolors. If you want say a 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, it's about a 4-inch strip. You want later in the afternoon, you get a 5-inch strip until like close to sunset. And all we do is just widen the strips in different widths to create different moods of the day. This is about a 4-inch piece of gel over a 9-inch reflector, creating that mixture of warmth to white light. So that lights it, then taking our strobes, bouncing them off the ceiling, then behind the cameras, then opens up the shadow area. And everything in this case is exposed at ISO 80. ISO 80. We're using Ektachrome EPP, which is a Ektachrome Plus, ISO 100. We rate it at 80 because it gives us a little bit lighter chrome. Okay. Often we like to do what with our chromes to make them look pretty? What do we like to do? We like to under, so they're nice and saturated and beautiful, and you put them on a light box and put lots of black mats all around and say, look at that range, look at the detail. But then you go ahead and make separations of that, okay? You make separations of that. And your dynamic range of 500 to 1 becomes a dynamic range of 64 to 1. And you know where most of that information is lost? Is in the shadow area. So if you're underexposing film for pretty chromes, what are you doing for the separation? You're cutting your own throat. So we find that it's a little bit better as a slightly hotter transparency. For a separation, we go ISO 80, which lightens the transparency up a little bit. Okay, midtones usually will not lose detail anywhere near as fast as your shadow areas. So if you look at our chromes, they feel a little hot, but any separator in town will say that our stuff separates a little bit better than anybody in town. Just simply because we're actually exposing our films for separations. Now, the basic setup is a kind of a 1-2 combination. First of all, our fill lights are 2 large sources of light, usually one bounced off the ceiling and one a large Camera light box. And that usually would illuminate a room very, very evenly. Bouncing light and large source. All I'm trying to do here is expose and create the shadow fill. That's all these lights are doing. I set these lights at, my exposure is 60th of a second at f16. Still I'm at that exposure for basic daylight in case I got any outdoor sunlight. But with that exposure rate, this exposure here now, this is f11 1/3 reading on my meter, exposed at 16. So this actual transparency is exposed at what? It's underexposed how much? 2/3 of a stop. Now why would that be underexposed? Because these lights are just nothing more to affect what? The shadow area. They're the fill lights, the shadow area. So I want to set them. That's the area I want my shadows to be. Then I take 2 strobes at the outside to create my sun feeling. I put them at about 30 degrees to the camera, firing through the window, casting all the shadow form towards my camera at about a 30-degree angle. Okay, about a 30-degree angle. I set that exposure to be 16 and 2/3. 16 and 2/3. So this I'm overexposing in this set by 2/3 of a stop. So my shadows are under 2/3. Okay, my highlights are over 2/3, which gives me that very sunny feeling. Okay, you bring that in. Now this is 16 and 2/3 with the lights, with the fill lights off. Now turn the fill lights on, and it raises the shadows up to be within 2/3 of a proper exposure, and that would be the range. Now, what happens? It creates this very sunny feeling. But what this is shot for is what? What is this shot for? What am I thinking when I'm shooting this stuff? Reproduction. It's going to go on web press. 4 million copies are going to be made to be mailed all over the United States on web press toilet paper they're going to print it on, essentially, and with the cheapest ink you can buy. Now, okay, and I got to be thinking, I can't think of this wonderful, huge dynamic range. I got to compress all my data within the usable part of the film, and that's how I'll set those ratios up. And then finally, I'll open up the corridors. I do a lot of individual lighting, like opening up that corridor right there, taking a small Lumidyne strobe, battery-operated strobe that I get out of the East Coast. You set it up, pump it in on that picture. I just take an incident meter reading. I want that to be exposed perfectly, so what do I set that strobe to read? F16 incident, boom, opens up that corridor, and I have that exposure range. Real simple, down and dirty. It takes me 15 minutes to take this picture. Okay, 15 minutes. And what we do is a rollover cart. A rollover cart is when you're shooting so much stuff, like in 2 days, in 1 day we have to shoot 2 pictures. We have 2 carts with identically the same equipment, exact same stuff on both carts. When we finish shooting one set, 2 assistants start packing that cart up. I go to the next room where my other cart's already there. We shoot that room. When that room is done, the cart that I used last time has been taken to the next room. Okay, and that's the way we roll over them. That's how we get that many done in a day. And you just boom. So you have 2 people that do nothing more than pack equipment back on as we take it off. It's a wonderful career. Any questions on this idea at all? Okay, that's what we come for. Yes? Do I consider using tungsten for interiors? Yeah, but not during the daytime. Okay, remember, all my stuff is shot. In this case, I'm dealing all with daylight balance because everything has to be shot during the daytime. If I shot interiors at night, or if I shot interiors without any hint of outside, absolutely, tungsten's wonderful. I mean, I like tungsten actually a little bit more because I have longer exposures. I have manipulation of light. I can, during a 4-second exposure, flag the light back and forth, do a little painting with light. So I actually like, tungsten. I mean, it's real hard to do that with strobe, is move it back and forth during it's like, real quick, okay, oh, damn. But, so I do like tungsten a lot. But in this case, I was just held to, they want daylight balance. And there's no way you're going to use tungsten bright enough to be able to balance and then filter it back to daylight situations. So that's why I'm dealing with that. Any other questions on that at all? Okay, now, another image that plays as what we call it